Back home now, advertising is in the spotlight this week. The Human Rights Commission is looking into racism and discrimination in the advertising industry. In recent years, there have been outrage over the Tresemme and H&M campaigns. The inquiry aims to deal with the issue. It's a 5-day inquiry that will sit until Friday. Govan Whittles is watching proceedings for us. He joins us now live. So Govan, take us through the submissions today. What have we heard?
Well, we heard from Zuleika Patel. She's an anti-racism activist. And then we heard from the South African Medical Research Council, and they presented more in-depth content around the link between targeted marketing of unhealthy goods or foods and a rise in non-communicable diseases such as obesity. And they've made a number of recommendations and say the South African Human Rights Commission should place restrictions on brands and advertising agencies' ability to use things that children specifically could relate to, such as cartoons or fantasy worlds, in order to sell unhealthy products that are clearly bad for children. That's just one of the recommendations they've made here. All in all, they've decried the inability of the Advertising Regulatory Board to impose sanctions on agencies that may put out discriminatory ads or racist ads. And they say that one of the main things that these hearings should do is recommend that the ARB gets those powers to sanction, and that all agencies are compelled to become members of the ARB, in short, put an end to self-regulation. And let's have a listen now to one of the speakers from the SA Medical Research Council about this issue.
The first very big problem with the ARB's functioning is that it is completely voluntary to be a member of the ARB, which simply means if I do not want my marketing content to be regulated, I withdraw from the ARB. No questions asked. Also, members of the ARB fund the ARB on an ad hoc basis. In other words, I elect to be a member, I decide to make a donation to the ARB, and that is it. There's no specific membership fees that are levied, and it's not transparent. Again, the ARB does publish specific funders, and it's possible to see online which corporations did make donations, but this creates certain concerns. If membership is negotiable and attached to a certain monetary value, can we truly view that as an independent body? Again, this is a perception problem. Is the Code of Advertising Practice, so this would be the document that the ARB administers to determine whether or not an ad breaches their internal rules, can that be deemed truly independent?
Govan, the EFF also making submissions. What are they saying?
They've explained those protests outside Clicks and H&M, but also going more in-depth into advertising spend and arguing that in South Africa, white South Africans' buying power is valued higher than black South Africans' buying power. And their claims by the EFF that black media owners have been systematically discriminated against because the white media companies' advertising rates would always be considered higher than theirs, even when the EFF says the buying power clearly remains with the black majority in the country. And they've gone a step further, saying that the entire advertising industry should be fined 50 billion rand. It says half of that should go to the SABC, and essentially saying they should be fined for being racist, for valuing the white South Africans' buying power higher than black South Africans' buying power. And they want the South African Human Rights Commission to impose this fine and make it part of their recommendations after day 5 of these hearings. Let's listen now to Dr. Mbuyiseni Ndlozi when he made this claim.
The billboards in Soweto secure the ones that are owned by black people first, because that's where black people live. They can immediately change next Sunday. Sunday World can get more advertisement expenditure by pure decision. It's an immediate effect. That's number one. But they must show remorse for the last 28 years. That's the structure of the EFF's approach. They must show remorse. Collectively as an industry, annually they do like 30 billion. So 28 years, 50 billion is still like, you know, asking them for cramps. But they must collectively, based on the contribution of their collective expenditure on adverts, they must contribute to the 50 billion, 50 of which must go and advance the SABC and make the SABC the powerhouse it should be for the audiences it commands, for the great content that it offers.
It's a very interesting one. Govan Whittles following that story for us.